Was Ramses the Great really immortal? Not in the mythic sense, lightning bolts, divine breath, eternal youth, but in the quieter, more unsettling form of immortality, the kind where a human refuses to disappear. He lived into his 90s, unthinkable in the 13th century BCE. He ruled for 66 years, long enough that an entire civilization forgot alternatives. He carved his name so deeply into stone that erosion became irrelevant. He became a cartoon of durability, an organism that biology failed to erase. What do you call a man who lives longer than doubt? What do you call a man who convinces millions that death is optional? What do you call a man whose corpse still tours the modern world with a passport? Some would call him a king. Others would call him propaganda. But the world keeps circling back to one forbidden word: immortal. Immortality may not be about living forever. It might be about refusing to conclude. And Ramses never concluded. The story begins. The anatomy of a god. The Egyptians believed kings were divine, not because they proved it, but because life was too unpredictable to accept mortal leadership. When Nile floods determined survival, when astronomy decided harvests, when plague hid in shadows, certainty became a religion. Ramses stepped into that hunger for permanence. He understood that sacred authority wasn't earned, it was staged. His temples weren't prayer halls, they were psychological machinery. Walk into Abu Simbel. 4 colossal figures staring down eternity, faces carved into a cliff as if mountains themselves declared loyalty. They do not negotiate, they do not blink. They whisper something humans crave. You are safe. Someone eternal is in charge. But the fascinating part? Ramses wanted more than obedience. He wanted permanence of identity. A king dies when forgotten. So he made forgetting impossible. He stamped his name across Egypt, claimed monuments built by others, and multiplied statues of himself until crowds blurred into worship. His immortality wasn't supernatural. It was architectural. Stone became memory storage. Memory became immortality. The fiction of victory, at Kadesh, the largest chariot battle of the ancient world, Ramses faced the Hittites. It was not a triumph. It was not a defeat. It was a stalemate. But Ramses refused a stalemate. He turned it into scripture. The king charged alone. The king defeated thousands. The king saved Egypt. He plastered this narrative on temple walls, turning granite into propaganda. A myth repeated in stone becomes a memory. And a memory repeated across generations becomes a fact. When your victories are immortalized, your mortality becomes negotiable. Ramses found a cheat code. Control the record, and you control. Eternity. Truth ages. Narrative doesn't. Is this immortality? Is living forever simply the absence of contradiction? The longest childhood. Imagine being born into a civilization that promises godhood, not metaphorically, but politically, ritually, institutionally. You aren't raised, you are cultivated. Your heartbeat becomes national symbolism. Your breath becomes spiritual continuity. Your mistakes become impossible. What happens to the psychology of a boy told from birth that his skeleton is divine? Ramses grew into a consciousness without vulnerability. When you are assured of eternity, fear evaporates. But something else evaporates too. The ability to see yourself clearly. Immortality requires blindness. A god cannot self-inspect, and a ruler who cannot self-inspect becomes a permanent performance. Ramses may have lived 90 years, but the world around him never allowed him to grow old. They required him to live outside time, a living fossil, a breathing monument, a denial of decay. Longevity is not immortality. But when a culture refuses to acknowledge aging, a long life becomes indistinguishable from eternity. When time stops being linear, empires measure life differently. They do not see individuals, they see continuity. Ramses became a time anchor. 66 years on the throne means entire lifetimes collapsed into routine. A generation was born, raised children, and aged without ever witnessing a change in leadership. Think psychologically. If you've never seen power transfer, transfer becomes unthinkable. If you've never seen death interrupt rule, death becomes negotiable. The people of Egypt lived inside a cognitive illusion. If the king does not change, time does not change. Ramesses didn't just slow down aging. He interrupted historical rhythm. When a society loses rhythm, it loses anticipation. When it loses anticipation, it loses fear. This is the seduction of immortality. Not endless life, but the suspension of endings. The body they refuse to bury. Most rulers vanish under dirt. Ramesses was excavated out of it. His mummy remains shockingly intact. Teeth worn from decades of use, hair maintained by ancient oils, skin still gripping bone like time forgot a few assignments. In 1976, France treated his body as a living dignitary. A passport, an arrival ceremony, official honors. Who grants diplomatic status to a corpse? Who treats a skeleton as a statesman? We do, because some part of civilization still believes Ramesses didn't conclude. Immortality isn't a soul surviving, it's identity refusing to dissolve. He persists in the collective nervous system, a stubborn neuron that won't prune itself. Death ends biological function, but immortality is social function that refuses deletion. And Ramesses is still functioning. The illusion cracks. But immortality contains a contradiction. If you survive long enough, people start noticing the seams. Ramesses' final decades revealed an old man, shrinking frame, failing joints, the god coughing, sleeping, decaying like everyone else. A divine organism cannot age in public, but he did. Imagine the psychological rupture, peasants watching a deity limp. Immortality isn't only persistence, it's distance. When a god collapses into biology, belief confronts evidence. That confrontation breaks spells. Some historians argue Egypt's ideological confidence faded after Ramesses because his mortality became visible. If the god wrinkles, what else have we lied about? The empire that outgrew its god. Ramesses didn't decline alone. Egypt declined with him. Economy contracted, invasions escalated, priests accumulated power, regional autonomy expanded. A god-king requires abundance, surplus grain, obedient labor, unified narrative. When reality complicates, myth becomes expensive. God-kings are not spiritual constructs. They are economic luxuries. After Ramesses, Egypt lacked the surplus to maintain theatrical eternity. Immortality requires a stable stage. The stage collapsed. Living forever is easy. Funding divinity is hard. The question beneath the question. So let's stop. Asking whether Ramesses was immortal and ask something uncomfortable. Why do we want him to be? What psychological need pushes us toward the fantasy that one human detached from entropy? Do we fear death that intensely? Do we crave certainty that desperately? Do we need someone to absorb cosmic randomness? Because if one man conquered time, maybe time is negotiable. Maybe meaning is negotiable. Maybe oblivion is optional. Immortality is anesthesia. It numbs awareness of impermanence. Yet every anesthetic carries cost. You forget how to feel the world as it is. Egypt lived anesthetized for 66 years. Waking up was painful. The reflection. Our modern immortals. Ramesses never ended. He only changed costumes. Modern immortality hides in celebrity worship, billionaire mythologies, national founding myths, ideological saviors, charismatic politicians, cultural icons frozen in nostalgia. We still immortalize. We still suspend endings. We still believe that charisma dissolves mortality, but exposure ruins divinity. Cameras catch decay. Leaks reveal flaws. Critics tear apart illusions. Immortality fails in high resolution. Ramesses lived in a world without resolution. He stayed pixelated enough to remain perfect. What does it mean to never end? Maybe immortality is not a condition. Maybe it's a category of memory. Some figures survive because their names saturate the record, their image becomes symbolic shorthand, their stories become identity filters, their legacy becomes useful. Immortality is utility. You survive as long as you serve a function. Ramesses served many: a golden age mascot, a military archetype, a divine advertisement, a political anchor, a cultural fossil, a national reassurance. When a symbol performs enough tasks, a civilization refuses to recycle it. That refusal is immortality. The final turn. So was Ramses the Great really immortal? Physically, no. He died, he decomposed, he shrank into residue. But psychologically, culturally, symbolically, he refuses to end. He is the contradiction at the heart of civilization, a mortal used as proof that mortality can be beaten. And in that contradiction, we find a mirror. We don't want Ramesses to be immortal because he earned it. We want him to be immortal because we fear the alternative. If a king who commanded thousands dies, what chance do we have? If a man who built mountains collapses, what hope remains? Immortality isn't belief in him. It's disbelief in our own fragility. Maybe the unsettling truth isn't that Ramesses survived. Maybe the unsettling truth is that we are still trying to. Because when we whisper Ramesses was immortal, we are not talking about him. We are bargaining with extinction. We are negotiating with time. We are asking the universe for one small exception. And the universe answers exactly as Ramesses did: carve your name deeply enough. And maybe endings become optional. If you found this story fascinating, like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel, where we explore the civilizations, ideas, and mysteries that shaped humanity.